Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Be Good Leadership. I am Ronnie Caldwell, hopefully giving out some advice that might help you in your leadership journey, but as well in life in general. So, um, in a situation with an administrator and leadership team a few years ago, and within the conversation, basically a leader was saying that they were having a bad day, and the leader was talking about just these different things that have been happening, some annoyances that have been going on, and basically saying that they felt sorry, and they were kind of joking, but they were said they felt sorry for the different people that had to meet them that day because they were going to get it. They were going to get it because this leader was having a bad day. And I remember I thought about that, and I thought of two things that I think are very important to me. They're wisdoms that are important to me, and then of course I've also put forward in my life. So one is that, as this leader was saying, they were having a bad day, they were having a tough time, and they said initially they feel sorry for anyone who's coming in, because they were also going to have a bad day since that leader was having a bad day. Right. And oh my Lord, when we're in a position of authority, I think people know it as when they're a teacher. Sometimes people know when they go home, they know that, man, I'm not in a good mood. This is not a good space for me right now. And so this might be hard on the kids. This might be hard on my spouse. This might be hard on someone else. And the wisdom from that is just that people usually, when they're not feeling good, they're more likely to treat others poorly. This is the thing, is that most of the time, if you're feeling good, you don't feel like making it a terrible day for other people, right? There's usually something going on in you. For people to be mean to someone, that usually means that something is not right with them. If I'm bullying someone, if I'm treating someone rudely, everything else, then I'm probably tired. I probably have some issues with me. I'm probably feeling some kind of insecurity. There's all those things going on. And that's what this leader was saying, is that basically they knew it already. They said that I'm not okay, and so that means I'm probably not going to be okay to others today. they, and they were acknowledging that and laughing about that. And you might ask, well, were they? Yeah, they were. They were not cool. And I think that this particular leader, from what I know, they were not cool often. This was a stance that they often had. Things weren't going well for them. They weren't too happy with their job situation. They weren't too happy with some of the things that were going on in the organization, maybe in their own personal life. And therefore, that kind of played over into a culture. It played over into how they treated the people they worked with, and everything else. And I don't have to. You could imagine that creates a toxic environment. But it's true. So there's that one lesson that we all take in and understand for others, which maybe can help us give a little bit more compassion for them. Is that, man, there's probably something going on with you if you're treating me in a particular way, or if you're not being good for people, and to know that about yourself, to be careful about that. But I think the most important thing is the second wisdom is you can make a different choice. You can make a different choice in that, yeah, I'm not okay right now. I'm not feeling too good, but I'm not going to let that be someone else's problem. What does it have to do with anybody else? Really? If something happened to me in the morning and I had a bad conversation with someone, what does that have to do with the next person I have a conversation with? Nothing. Nothing at all, and it shouldn't. And it's my responsibility to make sure that doesn't happen. So here is this difference between the knowing and doing gap, right? That leader who I talked about, they knew that they had had a bad day. They knew that they weren't feeling in a good mood, that they weren't feeling right inside. They knew that. And they knew that that meant that probably it was going to be hard on other people they had to see that day. But they didn't do anything to try to control that. They didn't do anything to try to mitigate that. So they knew the lesson. They knew that maybe it would have nothing to do with that person, what that person said, or what that person did. It would have everything to do with how they were feeling and what they had unresolved. But they were also choosing to, well, nothing I can do about it. And there are things you can do about it. One, you can make the conscious decision. As a father, I would make that decision. What was going on at work, it shouldn't come back into the house with me, right? With my kids. It shouldn't affect that. It shouldn't come back to my wife. It shouldn't have anything to do with how my friends are impacted. I'm not going to treat someone badly because I had a bad interaction with another person. And there was a lot to this, and so I've different skills about it. Like, well, how do you do that? One is journaling, right? One, of course, is, man, that was a bad interaction. Why am I pissed about that? Let me take a minute real quick and just write it down. Just facts. It could be bullets, it could be whatever, but just get it out there. Just say, hey, you know what? Did not like that. 1 minute. Let me write what I didn't write. What didn't like about that. Get that out. Let that be there. There's also, of course, the making time to be still, to be quiet for yourself. I meditate, right? So I have a meditation practice just every morning. That's what I'm always doing. And what I see that as is I'm turning down the volume at the beginning of the day, right? Some people like to meditate at the end of the day. What I prefer is I want to take the volume from normal volume to like really low. So as it builds through the course of the day, maybe I just get to normal, right? And some people, I think it didn't work for me, but some people they decide I'm gonna let the volume ratchet up, and then I'm gonna let the meditation take me down. But what I find is that if I meditate first thing in the morning in the day, or make that time for stillness, whatever your practice might be, that helps me for the rest of the day, right? But staying conscious of the idea that you have a responsibility to others, that you do have a responsibility to others, that humans in general, we like some autonomy, but we're also built for cooperation, right? So just by our natural, how we evolved, we thrive in groups with close connections, and we are a naturally cooperative species. At the same point in time, we want a bit of autonomy. And so it's always the balance between those things. Being an individual, having some autonomy and some control over my life, but at the same point in time, being tied to, responsible, and not forgetting that others are just integral to me, who I am, my quality of life, and who I am as a human being, right? Is that I'm connected to all these things and these different people. And so it's important that we realize that whatever happens to us, the bad mood that we're in or how we're feeling, we should embrace that emotion. There's nothing wrong with feeling that way. There's nothing wrong with feeling any particular emotion. However, I do think it is not optimal. It's not the most compassionate thing. It's not the most wise thing to let that continue to impact other people who had nothing to do with the reasons for however we're feeling. And to be conscious of that, to make that choice that actually what I can do is focus in on how I am for others. See, we go back to that leader that I gave at the example. Their entire focus was them. I'm feeling this way, and therefore I am going to treat these people this way. And man, I feel sorry for them because since I'm not doing well, no one else is going to do well. Versus, man, I'm kind of not feeling too good about this conversation I just had, or today is not going well for me. But instead, the focus is, but how do I make sure that I don't make anyone else's day as bad as mine? How do I make sure that I'm a good part of other people's day? How do I make sure that I can be a part of a solution, not part of a problem? I don't want to be the worst part of anybody's day. And I think when we think about how we can benefit others, when we continually, not just about ourselves, but also have this reframe to how do I support other people? How do I think about, and not just myself, but how I can benefit others, then it naturally guides us in the right direction. So that's how I think we can all be a bit better for others. And the weird part of this is, the counterintuitive part is that I guarantee if that leader had taken the viewpoint that I'm giving you now, from my own experience, as a dad, as a friend, as a spouse, as a school leader, as a teacher, my day gets better. I don't have whole days where I'm feeling terrible. There might be a bad situation where, oh man, that puts me in a bit of a mood for a bit. But by focusing on how do I make things better for the next person I talk to? How do I make sure that I'm actually that thing that just happened doesn't affect this next person? My mood gets better as well. I feel better quicker. I don't ruminate as much. So it's this other weird thing of um, being focused on other people and how you can be helpful to others is also helpful to you in an immediate way and in a long term way. The advice is free and you don't have to take it. Y'all be good.